The $1.7 trillion spending package is now awaiting President Biden's signature after the House and Senate both passed the bill last week. Our next guest voted against it. Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon joins us now. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee. All right, so this House and Senate bill that was passed, $1.7 trillion, like we needed that kind of debt, like a hole in the head. This spending package basically adds to the national debt, injecting more fuel into runaway inflation. I know you voted against the bill. So then tell us why. What is your biggest issue with this bill? Do you think this omnibus, thank you, bill will do more harm than good?
Well, Julie, omnibus is a very difficult word to pronounce. Yeah, it's going to do more, unfortunately, more harm than good. What we have here is the lame duck Democrats at the very last minute shoving a 4,155-page bill right down our throats. And Julie, it includes $787 billion of non-emergency discretionary spending. And amongst the worst provisions, it gives $12 billion additional dollars to the IRS, which is an agency that's already overfunded and got $80 billion from what I call the Inflation Enhancement Act. It also gives $299 million to the National Labor Relations Board to promote union jobs. And how about $3 million for a LGBTQ museum in New York City, $3 million for bee-friendly highways, not quite sure what that is, $65 million to an agency, the UN Relief and Work Agency, that already has a history of promoting terrorism and producing materials, anti-Semitic materials. So this is going to add, as you just mentioned, also $2.65 trillion to our debt over the next 10 years, which is about $20,000 per family.
Yeah, I mean, this pork-packed spending bill is outrageous if you look at it. And I'm curious if half of those who voted for it even read through the whole thing. $575 million for family planning, where population growth harms the environment. And my favorite, $70 million for salmon. And then the bee-friendly highways. I don't like bees, but I'll live with saving $3 million. How about just, I don't know, I stay away from them. But this is what, Democrats wanted to jam down our throats right before Republicans, take control. And now here we are looking into 2023 with not only inflation, but interest rates that are not going to drop as people were hoping and praying they would. So what do you foresee in the new year?
Well, the adults in the room will finally be in majority in the House of Representatives. And so we'll see. We only guarantee certain things when you control one of the three levers of government. And one of the things that we can guarantee are these trillion-dollar spending bills outside the regular budgetary process will end. And we have spent trillions of dollars, and that's the number one driver for inflation. And I found it, Julie, ironic that in this bill, there was $12 billion additional dollars for SNAP welfare benefits because of inflation. So the very spending that caused inflation, they're continuing the kind of a vicious cycle in which will never end. So we need to go in a new direction, and we need to provide the business community some stability and certainty so they can plan accordingly, so we can create private sector jobs, which will then spur growth.
Yeah. I want to talk about border spending in the bill. What do you think of the $15.6 billion for day-to-day operations? Then there's $1.56 billion for CBP, management, tents for migrants, medical services, processing, et cetera, $800 million for FEMA shelters and services, and the list goes on. Now, remember, Title 42 is up tomorrow. And so it's expected that they're going to have an influx of illegal immigrants. So I guess that's why they need to set up tents, rather than actually keeping them out of our country. Let's just find them housing as they cross the border.
Well, yeah, what they've done is provided really a Band-Aid to an arterial wound, Julian. Let's tell the truth to the American people. There was $800 million for housing illegals, nothing to do with stopping them from getting here in the first place. Also, funding for ICE enforcement and removal is completely flat. And then look at the issue. We have, Julie, this is startling. We had never had a month where we had 200,000 illegal border crossings in our history. It had never happened before. The last 9 months in a row have been over 200,000. The problem is about 800% worse than it was under President Trump. And Joe Biden's solution is to increase the Border Patrol agents by 300, which is a 1.5% increase to handle a problem that has increased 800%. we're bordering on an absolute collapse on the frontier with Mexico.
To be exact, November border encounters, November 2022, 233,740 compared to November of 21, 174,000 compared to when the president took office just this past year alone, 2.3 million illegal immigrants and rising. And goodbye Title 42 that was trying to tamper those numbers down under the Trump administration. But thank you so much, Congressman Pat Fallon. That's all the time we have. Omnibus, thank you for voting against it. I'm sorry that you were unsuccessful.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, Julie.
You too.
Take care.